Okay, the area behind us, which is largely a playing field, and to the south with a very nice tree stand, is actually corresponds to the blue area on the sign, which is the site that has been declared surplus for school use. They will not be building a school there, and it is now open for a different zoning, which could include residential development. It will also take out a portion of the natural area, Northwest 638, to the north. We think that the whole area is valuable and is important for both human recreation, neighborhood recreation, and for the preservation of the natural area to the north. And we also think this fringe of trees at the south is definitely worth preserving to enhance the natural area value of the Oleskiw Park site.
Yeah, some extra comments. The important thing maybe to recall is that this area over here is a designated natural area has been designated for quite some time by the city, and the development would definitely encroach into it, and we are thinking we should stand by what was originally proposed, that the natural area should be maintained, and it goes without saying that there should be a buffer zone around it, and consequently the proposal should include an enhanced natural area surrounded by some areas dedicated to recreation. So that is what our proposals are about, and that's why that's why we're having a campaign to oppose the residential development and propose enhanced natural area.
The sign says Wolf Willow Park Playground on this Saturday morning, March the 5th. But in fact, and you can see the children and the families using the playground on this mild morning. But in fact, this is actually Oleskiw Park, which consists of playgrounds to the south, and some very nice aspen woods on either side of a central trail, which we're going to take a walk down.
Location, the playground surrounded by natural area, and that is what our ultimate aim is, to preserve that, to have a playground but interacting with natural area as well, try to preserve them. And I just see a magpie flying in across, coming from the river and looking for the connection from the river into this natural area, and then maybe further into Collingwood and so forth. So this is one other goal of in the preservation of the natural area, to have the connectivity amongst the various natural tree stands that exist in this area. All right. Well, you see in the backyard here the remnants of the fire from 2 or 3 years ago, and also a nice landscape of low-lying area with now winter remnants of the Cotterill. So it's a nice example of a wetland that would be worthwhile preserving.
You know what? I just saw a white-breasted nuthatch fly through there.
Okay.
And these nuthatches are really interesting because they haven't been here in the 1950s. There used to be just the red-breasted nuthatch. Now the white-breasted nuthatch started to come into this general region in the 1950s, and now it's a very common bird. And these nuthatches actually interact with a natural area like this, and then actually the houses right next to it. People have bird feeders, and they go and feed at the bird feeders, and then you actually spend a lot of time feeding on natural foods in areas like this. And the more we can protect this in close proximity to where people are, the more people will benefit from environments like this. Right here you can see some evergreens. At the edge are some deciduous plants, deciduous forests. When you have that combination, you really create diversity. And what's interesting here too is you have houses right next to a natural area. And that benefits the people that live there in terms of providing opportunities to see wildlife. And we really don't see enough of that. And whatever we have, we'd have to do everything we can to protect it. Not just the river valley as such, but these patches that are found throughout the city. So we can't afford to lose these areas. Here we have two species of plants that are rather interesting for wildlife. This is red osier dogwood, and the deer like to nibble this. Moose too, of course we don't have moose here, but deer would. And over here we have rose bushes, Alberta emblem, the Alberta rose. And once the flowers have done their thing in the summer, then you start getting these rose hips, the fruiting bodies. And these fruiting bodies are very important for wildlife. Birds like them, a lot of the finches like them, and also grouse, like the ruffed grouse will feed on these. So that's a very interesting plant species for wildlife. They really thrive on plants like this, and the larger the area, the more opportunities they have for feeding on the variety of plants that are in the area. So you have to keep them as large as possible in order to provide diversity.
Some poplar with a very corrugated furrowed bark and a very large buds which are covered with a resin that protects the buds against desiccation during the winter. And this slimmer tree here is a young aspen, and also alongside it you can see the bark is a lot smoother, although it does begin to furrow down at the base. But this yellowish or grayish smooth bark is characteristic of aspen. This is predominantly an aspen forest with a few balsam poplar and the odd white spruce we can see in the background there. And we do also have one or two non-native plants. For example, I can see a European mountain ash with the remains of with the dangling leaves, brown leaves. I can't see any fruits on that one, but generally speaking, the fruits of the European mountain ash remain through most of the winter, and they're a great feed for our Bohemian waxwings.
A nice thing to observe in mature woods or semi-mature wood is decaying aspen trees, and they are of course very attractive for woodpeckers, both for feeding. They find the caterpillars in there, and also they use them for nesting, to rearing their young ones. So areas like this are worthwhile preserving for that point of view. And we can see there was recent activity here. You see the remnants of the wood chippings at the ground. So a woodpecker has been here not that long ago. So even though some people might think decaying trees are not such a nice thing, but I always admire to see the very nice structure. And for me, dying trees are living trees. That's what I go by.
It's on a dead tree. Yeah.
Living tree.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's the fungus.
Yeah, and lots of rose hips and woodpecker habitat.
Yeah. Wood chips at the bottom, so he has been there not that long ago.
In the background we have a blue jay. Here we have a woodpecker tree. We just heard a flicker back there. These are natural areas within the city. They're little green areas that we need to protect. It's about time that the politicians really wake up and realize we should protect what we have, and rather than taking away from it, you got to add to it. I mean, we got to get real here.
Have a sports field which caters to one form of recreation, and here we have another form of outdoor recreation. Kids really like to get into the forest and build shelters and teepees and things. There's sort of two ways of looking at this. One is that they're out in nature, engaging in healthy outdoor activity, and possibly learning something about nature while they're at it. An animal or a bird might fly by and intrigue them, impress upon them how interesting it is out here. Another thought is that possibly they're doing some damage to the environment. So there's sort of two ways of looking at this. I think if it's controlled, then I think, you know, our children really do need to have a chance to play in some of the wilder spaces. And hopefully that means that they will grow up wanting to be conservationists, appreciating what they've had as children and being able to experience, and want to preserve natural areas in the future.
Here's a much bigger fort in the same woodlot. The proposed development would take away this whole playing field, the far forest, and a good chunk of this forest right here.
Start and ending is always important.
A couple of interesting things here. This is on the fringe of the playing field, and it is part of an area that could be developed for residential housing, removing some of these of this part of the forest. If the natural area is protected, this edge here would be extended as a buffer zone for several meters towards the south. We can see the edge effect already. We've got a lot of smooth brome grass, which is a non-native grass, which is everywhere in disturbed areas. We do have a native herbaceous plant here, the showy aster, and you can see it remains all through the winter. Those are the remains of the flower heads, which are blue in the summer. And behind we have a lot of young regenerating aspen. These dense young stems, and this is probably because this area was cleared in some way, either by some sort of clearing event or by a fire, which we know did come through this area about a couple of years ago, and that stimulated the regeneration of the aspen by suckering. These young stems are suckers from more mature trees.
Ready to go?
Bingo.
All right, so we are here at the area where the proposed housing development is being constructed. And there's a very nice little forest there, probably grown up in the last 40 years since this area was taken, the whole Oleskiw area was developed. And the nice thing I wanted to point out on this little stand is almost a hedge-like growth of shepherdia. So that's Canada buffalo berry, and most of people probably have seen it. Nice red berries in the, well, around July already. And it's a favorite food of the bears. And if we are lucky, this area will be preserved. Maybe in the future we'll be able to see some bears in here even. So again, if you look all around here, almost hedge-like buffalo berry, and myself, I've never seen such an accumulation of this particular growth in Edmonton.
Birdhouse at Sherwood Park. It's 9718 Orange Road. You can also get a hold of us at 780-416-4435 or on our website www.mikasbirdhouse.com.
Hi, I'm Janine and this is Ian and we're the owners of Mika's Birdhouse.